All right, I think there are a few big stories coming out of week 4 in the NFL. I think the biggest one is cause for concern out in Philadelphia. This was a team that I had a lot of high expectations for. And I think this was also a team that had a lot of pressure on them coming into this season based off of how 2 seasons ago went and then how last season went. And so now you have to show that last season was kind of the outlier, especially how that ended. You have to show that that was the outlier. And the one before that is the one that this team really is. And through 4 weeks, it really seems like last year was kind of what this team is. It was an awful performance against Tampa Bay. Just absolutely brutal. And I think you can explain away a lot of the stuff on offense just with, well, no A.J. Brown, no Devonta Smith. That's going to, any team loses those types of weapons, it's going to set them back. But also, you still have, as we talked about last week, you still have Goddard. You still have Saquon Barkley. They went out and acquired Jahan Dotson to be a number 3 receiver. I get having him be the number 1 is not ideal, but it's not like this team is still devoid of talent. And also, if Jalen Hurts is going to be that guy and be the big money quarterback, you kind of need to be able to beat Tampa Bay. You have to look better than Bo Nix looked last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I thought it was just dreadful. But the big issue is how bad this defense was. They got throttled in this matchup. Their defensive line, after 1 week of looking pretty good against New Orleans last week, the defensive line now looks like it is a problem again out in Philadelphia. And the big thing is, like, Sirianni just did not have this team ready to play. And if this trends even remotely further the way this is going, then I think that he is probably out of a job. Looking at it now, they're in a bye week next week, so at least a stay of execution there. And then after that, they take on why am I not seeing this? It's an Eagle. How can you not see an Eagle? Oh, they play the Cleveland Browns in Philadelphia. So if you lose that game, you're gone. You're fired. Right? So Sirianni certainly on the hot seat. Speaking of coaches who may need to find other employment soon, the New York Jets take a major step back against the Denver Broncos. And I will admit, like we went over on the power rankings on Wednesday, I was duped. I believed when I shouldn't have believed that this is probably still a playoff team, just based off of the AFC. And this is still a talented roster. But to consider them contenders, to consider them as I had them a top 5 team in the NFL is asinine. That was a horrendous loss. And spare me it was rainy and cold. You play in New York, guys. We don't take 4 months off and then you get to play the playoffs in July. Okay, you're going to have to. It's not going to get better, the weather situation, as the season goes on. So A, if it's a problem now, fix it, because you're going to have to deal with it. B, number 2, whatever thing you want to use to list the items. The weather is the same for both. And if you were to tell me before this game that you get Aaron Rodgers in the elements against Bo Nix, I will take that 1,000 times out of 10. Aaron Rodgers, the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field, Green Bay, Wisconsin, playing all of those playoff games so they didn't lose at home for a century. He has played in the elements before. Bo Nix sucks, and he's just out of college. So don't give me it was the weather, because you have Aaron Rodgers, one of the best bad weather quarterbacks in the league, against a kid. And you also had 3 extra days to prepare. Just an abysmal loss for the New York Jets. And the penalties were the killer for this team. And then Robert Salah after the game saying, oh, well, maybe we need to change the hard count up. I am not usually on Aaron Rodgers' side on many things, but for Rodgers to come out and say, or maybe it's time to hold guys accountable, was the perfect response to that, and the perfect way to handle that sort of a situation. And he's right. This team has not held its players accountable for a really long time, and they need to really get this thing on track. And it is not by Aaron Rodgers changing how he does things to fit the rest of this team. Also, you look at who was taking the penalties. It wasn't the rookie left tackle. If anyone should be having trouble with the hard count, it would be that kid. So it wasn't him. So no, this is... I have tried to give Robert Salah the benefit of the doubt because he seems fun, right? You know, you like the energetic guy on the sidelines, you like a guy getting fired up, and also, and I think this is a bigger picture NFL thing to talk about maybe on at a quieter time, but every every team is looking for the same thing in a coach. And I like that they kind of went outside the lines and went for the defensive guru guy to go out there and try to be a little bit different. And so I wanted it to work, but it's not. It's not working. I don't think it's going to work. And I think the Jets are going to be worse because of it. In terms of teams who played well, I think if we all watched the preview show on Friday, we have a pretty good understanding that I was not necessarily anticipating that kind of a showing from the Baltimore Ravens. That was impressive as hell. A very good showing over the Buffalo Bills and a really dominant performance by them. Derrick Henry, it seems like they've unlocked that now a little bit, and this is what is so tantalizing about this Baltimore team is that when it is clicking, it is so much fun to watch, and it is so dominant, and it can be so dominant. I do think that from a Bills standpoint, this was a little bit of a reminder that they have been playing very well to start the year, but this hasn't really been... Like, this is still a roster that has some issues. This is still a team that has some injury problems. And it is just not a complete unit right now for Buffalo. And so I think that is something that was just, it was a nice reminder here. K. Rimney or Crimney, I will get to the fantasy question here in just a moment. Detroit reminding us that they're still really good. We have had some concerns about them for the last couple of weeks, but I think that Seattle is a really good defense, and they kind of torched them a little bit. They played really well. Jared Goff, like, it was a perfect performance. That was unbelievable. And so for him to do that, I think showed he's legit. But I do think that this kind of showed that Seattle, maybe not on that championship tier, but Seattle is a threat. And right now, Seattle looks like the best team in the NFC West. Right? Yeah, West. I don't know why I blanked on that for a second. But yeah, they look like they are legit too. The Packers, the Vikings, another very impressive performance on Sunday. The defense lets up a little bit, allows Green Bay back into this game, but Brian Flores is an unbelievable defensive coach, and he has done such a great job out there in Minnesota. And Sam Darnold, I don't think it's going to continue at an MVP pace. I am very interested to see how they handle things going over to face the Jets on Sunday morning over in England. But I do think that Sam Darnold is someone that is finally figuring out the right situation for him, and that's been really exciting. And I think the Packers, this is the one where it's like, okay, this Packers defense, we've had a couple like, are they, aren't they, are they, aren't they? I have now declared my flag in the ground. The Packers defense is mid at best. So I know you've all been waiting for that. A couple of more. Commando's offense is a wagon. We knew that coming in. But Jaden Daniels, like, you just watch him. He is gliding out on the football field, and the arm strength that he has and the accuracy and all of that, like, it is a complete package what you are seeing with him right now, and that has been just a delight to watch, and it's very exciting. And yes, like, this was against Arizona, who isn't that great of a defense, but to do that against anyone is really, really impressive. So Commanders have to move up in our mental whatever for the NFL here going forward. And the last one, I was duped again, week 1, by the LA Rams against the Detroit Lions for how good I thought they did and how well they hung with that team. Yes, it's injuries, whatever, but I need to get back to my preseason assumption that the Rams aren't shit. So that is a miss by me. And oops on that one.